this cannot be all that you have. Is there other stuff that you just have not shown?
He has a baby by a woman that was dating Tupac.
Wow.
To add to it,
For
but
3
we
decades,
had to cut it down.
The world has circled the same questions about Tupac Shakur and the Notorious B.I.G. We were told it was a tragic collision of pride, fame, and a coast-to-coast rivalry that got out of control. East versus West, Suge versus Puffy, Death Row versus Bad Boy. The story hardened into a legend. 2 icons, 2 murders, and a culture left with grief and conspiracy. But in 50 Cent's Netflix documentary, The Reckoning, that familiar mythology is presented as a decoy easy explanation that kept people from looking at what might have been happening in plain sight. According to the documentary's framing, this wasn't just a rap feud, it was something colder.
They invited me, the individuals who have the video invited me to California, to LA, to come and view the tapes.
A chain of grudges, power plays, and street-level violence, supposedly fueled by money, manipulation, and obsession, with consequences that reached far beyond the music. A key moment in the film begins, not in the 1990s, but years later, in 2001, when Sean Diddy Combs was at the peak of mainstream dominance. He had become a symbol of glossy success, champagne toasts, flashy videos, radio hits, and a reputation for always landing on his feet. One of those hits, a track fans remember for its beat and bravado, becomes the documentary's first hidden door. 50 Cent claims that he, not Diddy, wrote Diddy's verses for the song. Ghostwriting itself isn't unusual in the industry, and the documentary doesn't treat it as a scandal just because someone got help. The shock, as 50 tells...
Who else on the black, that are black actors or black in the business, there's an A-list to this big...
is the intention behind the words. He says he used the verse to bait Diddy into rapping what amounted to a confession. The idea is cinematic and unsettling, an ambitious writer, slipping coded truths into lyrics. Then, watching the artist deliver them with swagger, unaware of what he's saying. In this retelling, lines that once sounded like generic boasting are reinterpreted as deliberate references to violence tied to the East Coast-West Coast bloodshed. 50 points to lyrics about being like East Coast, West Coast, insisting it wasn't just an ego line about influence in New York and Los Angeles, but a wink toward involvement on both sides. Another lyric calling for the
cops. That I walked in on.
Who'd you walk in on?
Him and Dwayne Martin. All right, I open the door to Dwayne's dressing room, and that's when I see Dwayne and having sex with Will.
Let me process that for a second.
The DA and the feds is framed as eerie foreshadowing, a subconscious confession that now reads differently in light of Diddy's later legal troubles. The documentary uses this to paint 50 Cent not as a commentator, but as an operator, someone who plays the long game, who studies rivals, keeps receipts, and waits for time to make his points sharper. From there, The Reckoning pivots from lyrics to something more personal and, in 50's telling, more revealing, a woman named Sarah Chapman. Many people know Chapman primarily through her connection to Diddy as the mother of his daughter, Chance. The documentary argues that this relationship isn't just tabloid triviates presented as a psychological clue. 50 Cent claims Chapman once dated Tupac in the mid-1990s, and he suggests that Diddy's later involvement with her wasn't accidental or romantic fate, but a calculated conquest. In this interpretation, Diddy is portrayed as someone who doesn't only want to win publicly, he wants to take what belonged to a rival, even after that rival is gone. If the feud between Tupac and Diddy was fueled by humiliation and resentment, 50 suggests Diddy sought victory in a more intimate way, by stepping into Tupac's space, claiming a part of his personal life, and turning human relationships into trophies. Whether viewers accept that.
This, is there a way to make this go away other than the hush money thing? Is there anything that can be done legally?
It's not a hush money situation. There's a thing of value that is for sale. So in a legal sense, the only way to control it is to have possession of it. So if the person is that concerned about this seeing the light of day where they're praying that it goes away, I can certainly tell that person, I hate to say prayer won't work in this situation, but the only way is to do something. You need to act Otherwise, if you're going to leave it into the hands of others, others will purchase it. And legally, it's a way for them to get around. They can blur out the other person. They could, blur out maybe the graphic parts, but it could come out and it could be figured out who this person is very easily.
Claim or not, the documentary leans on it to establish a darker theme, that the same hunger for dominance that drives industry battles can, when mixed with paranoia and anger, spill into real-world harm. To understand how the documentary connects ego to violence, it returns to the night that has been dissected for years. September 7, 1996, Las Vegas. The city was electric with Fight Week energy. Mike Tyson was in the ring. Celebrities packed the MGM Grand, and Tupac, freshly re-energized, surrounded by death row's inner circle, moved through the weekend like a man who believed he owned the moment. Tyson's fight ended quickly, a knockout that left the crowd buzzing, and Tupac and Suge Knight headed out into the casino's chaos. The documentary emphasizes how fast everything escalated in the lobby, where Orlando Anderson, a member of the Southside Compton Crips, was spotted near the elevators. Anderson was tied to an earlier incident involving the alleged robbery.
The attorney of one of Diddy's accusers was on Piers Morgan and spoke about the alleged tape that has been leaked. And last week, the same attorney said that was someone of high profile in a tape with Diddy from his Atlanta mansion. But today, we're learning even some more information.
Is it the house? Roe affiliate and the theft of a chain act seen in gang culture as public humiliation. When Tupac confronted Anderson, the exchange turned physical immediately. Punches were thrown, a beating followed, and security eventually broke it up. But the documentary frames that brawl as more than a random scuffle. It's the spark that lit gasoline. Later that night, Tupac changed clothes, left his fiancée upstairs, and joined Suge in a black BMW as they drove down the strip in a convoy. Police briefly stopped them for loud music and reckless energy, then let them go. One of those strange moments where fate seems to pause and then continue. Around 11:15 p.m., at a red light near Flamingo Road, the documentary replays the sequence that altered hip-hop history. Tupac interacted with women in a nearby car, standing through the sunroof, animated and carefree, when a white Cadillac pulled up on the opposite side. The window rolled down. No argument, no shouted threat, just gunfire. 13 shots. Tupac was hit multiple times. Suge was grazed by fragments, and the Cadillac...
Is it a household name that we're talking about here? And secondly, are they engaged in any criminality from what you understand?
Household name, very much so. More of a household name than Mr. Combs.
Wow.
And
really?
Criminality, they are engaged in pornography. They're not doing anything illegal per se. I can't say that I'll say this. My concern was that I could not verify the age of the individual. And so that was my concern about not having anything sent to me and viewing it in the way that I did via stills, via FaceTime video. So I didn't want to have anything in my phone because my issue is we can't determine if this person is 17 to 21.
Disappeared into traffic. The documentary lingers on the image of Suge trying to drive a wounded car on damaged wheels. Sparks flying, while the city carried on around them. At the hospital, Tupac refused to cooperate with police and, in the film's telling, left the world with silence instead of names. 6 days later, he was gone. 4 years. That murder was explained primarily as retaliation for the casino fight, a grimly predictable consequence of gang logic. But The Reckoning argues that behind the Cadillac was not only revenge, but money, specifically, a bounty. The documentary highlights Dwayne "Keffe D. Davis, described as a key figure connected to the Cadillac's occupants and the uncle of Orlando Anderson. Keffe D's later claims through interviews, a book, and statements that prosecutors have scrutinized form one of the documentary's central pillars. In this version of events, Keffe D says Diddy wasn't merely an executive caught in a cultural storm, but someone who allegedly sought street solutions to a personal problem. The documentary presents the claim that Diddy wanted Tupac and Suge handled, and that a price was discussed, an amount so large it transforms the story from spontaneous violence into something that resembles a contract. The film leans into the implications. If such an offer existed, it suggests planning, motive, and an attempt to outsource murder under the cover of a public feud. The documentary also presents a claim of a phone call after the shooting. allegedly involving Diddy checking whether the job had been done, as if confirming a transaction rather than reacting to a tragedy.
21.
I will say I'm a bit surprised that she's like been on several news channels and speaking about this, because like, isn't this extortion? So we know this is a celebrity. It is not a politician because the person is 17 like to 21. They're not sure the age, but it sounds like a young male celebrity. When she first spoke about this video, she said that it seemed like the person in the video with Diddy was not aware that they were being taped or filmed. And additionally, attorney Ariel Mitchell-Kidd had spoken with News Nation, and she says that allegedly there are 3.
Then comes the messier part. The story that the promised money never reached the shooters. Supposedly diverted through an intermediary tied to the street economy. In this telling, betrayal becomes the pressure point that eventually turns insiders into talkers. It's not conscience that breaks the silence. It's the belief that someone got rich while others took the risk. Whether that's true or not, the documentary uses it to explain why old secrets might suddenly surface decades later, because loyalty erodes when the payoff doesn't come. And then, the film reminds viewers, the violence did not end with Tupac. 6 months later, Los Angeles became the stage for the second killing that shattered the era. March 9, 1997, after a party hosted by a major magazine, Biggie left in an SUV, moving through an unfamiliar city that still carried grief and anger. The documentary spotlights the account of a longtime bodyguard figure who claims he warned Diddy the night felt wrong, that tensions were high and the streets were talking. The party was chaotic, packed, and ultimately shut down early, an atmosphere that reads like a warning sign in hindsight. As Biggie's vehicle stopped at a red light near Wilshire, a dark car pulled alongside. A man described as welldressed.com and
There are
deliberate.
3.
Like I said, the young lady got in touch with me. I got in touch with Joe. Joe said it was felonious. She told me that she didn't want to do nothing to Joe. She just wanted the tape or copy of the tape or whatever like that so she could go after Puff. All that is true that Joe said. Now, am I privy to any of that information as far as was there a tape that exists? No, I don't know of a tape that exists. I haven't seen a tape that exists, but I heard that tapes exist. You understand? It could be folktale. It could be some bullshit. I don't know. We'll find out. So these lawyers is going to pay top dollar if tapes like that exist out there somewhere. They're going to pay top dollar for it because they know they're going to get millions in return if it does. We'll see, man. Puff had a lot of bodyguards. A person doing security for him. It may be some out there that wouldn't, because I heard that at one time somebody was blackmailing Puff with a tape. I don't know how true it is, but I heard that.
Raised a handgun and fired several controlled shots. Biggie was rushed to the hospital, but he didn't survive. The documentary frames the shooting not as random, but as precision and execution carried out in traffic, under streetlights, with a confidence that suggests planning. From there, the film lays out competing theories that have circulated for years: sketches, suspected shooters, alleged links to corrupt law enforcement, and the belief that death row's orbit may have wanted revenge. It also leans into 50 Cent's long-standing claim that Diddy knows more than he has ever admitted, perhaps even that he recognized the shooter or understood the chain of retaliation. The suggestion is that silence becomes a prison. If you acknowledge you know who killed Biggie, you open the door to questions about why, and those questions may lead back to Tupac. In that framing, two murders become connected, not just by time and symbolism, but by mutual secrecy, one protecting the lie of the other. The documentary broadens its argument by pointing to later allegations and incidents meant to show a pattern of intimidation and extreme behavior extending beyond the 19...
I had a realization that I had been to a Diddy party. Actually, I swear, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
I actually went to a Diddy lingerie sex party, freak off party in Miami at a mansion. It was like 8 stories high, and it just kept going up, and the higher you went, the weirder it was going on.
According to Jeff, he attended the party around 2010 after scoring an invite through an acquaintance who had filmed a music video with Diddy.
end up going to this party. She's like, oh, he's having a Diddy party, and these Diddy parties like are crazy. Like, they're the best parties. Like, people wanted to go to them.
However, Jeff says he was expecting a normal party, but realized it would be quite the opposite when his acquaintance and another friend were dressing in lingerie.
But I remember them getting dressed up, and I'm like dressing up like I'm going to a normal party, whatever. Like, I got my
slacks,
polo tee with the collar pop. Two of them, I've doubled up, totally. Like a pink and an orange one, and I got both collars popped. Yeah. And they're wearing this lingerie where their nipples are showing through. And I'm like, you guys are going like that?
Wow.
And they're like, you don't understand about these parties. And I did not understand, because I saw live sex happen that night. And that's the first time I saw that happen ever in my life. And did I partake?
To pick her up on a threesome, and you were going to beat up Will Smith. Is that true?
I like when you like this, Daddy.
Yeah, where you put my bag?
Daddy, I like when you scrambling and scraping.
That was you. Scrambling. What? You said, I like when you do it like that, Daddy. When you scrambling and scraping for Hey, man.
The rumors.
90s. It references claims involving the rapper Kid Cudi, including an alleged car explosion tied to jealousy and control. It also hints at disturbing recordings, party tapes that, according to the documentary's narrative, may have drawn federal attention for reasons far more serious than celebrity scandal. The film presents these not as isolated rumors but as pieces of a mosaic, a portrait of someone who allegedly used power, fear, and leverage as tools for decades, not just during one infamous era. Even the detail of a creepy package allegedly sent to 50 Cent is used as a flourisher, suggesting that mind games continue, even from confinement, even when the public image has collapsed. By the end, The Reckoning positions itself as more than entertainment. It argues that the old story, two coasts clashing, two stars dying, and the world shrugging at street violence, was too simple to be true. In its place, it offers a darker narrative, an ecosystem where celebrities and criminals mingle, where money can turn grudges into action.
Rumors of Will Smith being gay and having gay relations with who was it with?
Diddy.
I know, right? Hold on. So apparently Will's assistant, which I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, the whole thing sounds fishy because the same guy tried to interview on my platform and I said no, but he claims he saw Will Smith with Dwayne Martin.
Oh yeah.
I know nothing about this. This is crazy.
I mean, well, you should interview Tisha
Campbell, who was married to Dwayne Smith. That'd be an interesting interview.
Wouldn't it?
It would. You know her?
I do.
All right, let's make some phone calls.
I don't know. But I mean, and then there's, what would be said and what wouldn't be said. But, I've heard more rumors about Dwayne than Will.
Oh, you heard rumors about Dwayne? Oh. I heard some rumors about Will and Jada, which I won't mention because I'll get sued. But I've heard some rumors. I don't know. I mean, people like to say whatever happens behind closed doors is nobody's business, but when you're a public figure, it is everyone's business.
No, because if you kept it behind closed doors, nobody would know. Therefore, it wouldn't be nobody's business. They bring from out the bedroom. That's how we know any goddamn thing.
Yeah.
Y'all don't know what I do in the bed. I don't care what my OnlyFans are.
And where the public hears music while hidden meanings, deals, and threats move underneath. The documentary doesn't pretend every question is answered, but it insists the puzzle is no longer unsolvable. It points to lyrics reinterpreted as self-incrimination, relationships reframed as domination, witness accounts presented as warnings ignored, and alleged confessions treated as the missing bridge between myth and motive. In this retelling, the hip-hop tragedy of the 1990s wasn't just a cautionary tale about ego, it was a story about power, and what powerful people might do when they believe they can buy consequences the way they buy everything else.